I'm talking about. I will uh I will give it a few more seconds to give folks a chance to log on. Cool. All right. So I will start off by saying, as usual, thank you to everyone that's able to jump on the call this afternoon. We know that everyone's schedule is really, really busy. So I'm always appreciative of when our MBEs are able to make time for events like this. So I want to start off by saying thank you. Today will be a smaller group. So with that said, I would like it to be more of a conversation instead of us talking at you. So again, hopefully we'll get to the Q&A and the conversational piece as quickly as we can. So before I get started, my name is Paul Douglas. I'm the chair of the MBEIC committee here as part of the EMSDC. The goal for this conversation, and I know Janine will shortly go through what's the goal behind the MBEIC, is we've been talking all year, and what are some creative ways for us to continue to drive revenue growth within the EMSDC Council. I think Brian and Aaliyah and the team, they do an exceptional job of supporting the MBEs and the corporates. Our role is to make sure that we have with revenue growth for the MBEs. And one of the opportunities that's been a conversation, not only at the local level, it's also been a conversation at the national level. And we've all been hearing this for years. How do we get the MBEs to work together more and more? I can tell you guys it's becoming more and more practical, and it's happening more. And I wanted to make sure that at the EMSDC that we also try to be more deliberate and more intentional. And one of the I
You didn't notice that car was moving back?
Someone may have to unmute. There you go. Thank you. So one of the ideas that came up for us was not only do we want to be more intentional with MBs working together, we know that inside the council, I'll show some stats here shortly, we have a lot of class 3s and 4s, over 120 that are really successful. When I say successful, larger firms with more spend. We have majority 1s and 2s, but we think there's a significant opportunity to partner the 3s and 4s with the 1s and 2s. When we look at the revenue that's being generated within our accounts, which is almost $7 billion, I think there's an opportunity that sits right in front of our face. So that's the goal behind the call today, is to really talk through some ideas of how we can create more alignment within the council, more opportunities for MBs to work with MBs. So I want to thank you guys again for joining the call. We can go to the next slide, please. We'll throw it over to Janine.
Thanks, Paul. So welcome, everybody. We're really excited to have the conversation today. I will introduce you to our wonderful MBEIC team. As Paul mentioned, he is the chair. We have Brittany Evans, who's our outreach programmer. Dennis Garrett, he's our second vice chair. I am your secretary. And Aaliyah Hammond, David Grooms, and Raisha Morthy are our at-large members. Next slide. So as Paul mentioned a little bit, some of our roles and responsibilities, I think as a board, we've realized that there's a lot of opportunity for us to promote growth within, the MBEs council itself. So some of our responsibilities include providing mentorship and guidance to our MBEs, advocating for MBEs for the interest within the EMSDC, helping potential companies actually get certified as well, facilitating networking opportunities, identifying and addressing challenges that MBEs actually face, and collaborating with the EMSDC leadership to implement initiatives that actually benefit our MBEs. Next slide.
Cool. Awesome. So again, as I mentioned earlier, these were the 3 initiatives we had for the year. And again, so in order for us to really check off the box, with the first one is increasing MBE to MBE partnership, we talked about this idea. I'll give you guys maybe a little bit more historical context. I've had the opportunity to work for my previous company, which was a MBE, certified MBE. When I got to that company, they were probably 9-10 million. And I remember my old CEO, he always talked about, Paul, if we can create an ecosystem for the MBEs, we can grow so much faster. And that was their strategy to grow. They created channel partnerships with larger MBEs. We created partnerships with other subcontracting MBEs. And when I left that company after 9 years, they were almost 450 million in revenue, right? So I saw the model working with someone. And then as we grew our company, we kind of took some of those same philosophies of creating partnerships with larger companies, having subcontractors, have us grow in scale. And when you talk to most companies either grow with significant financial investment or you grow with partners, right? That's how business works if you want to grow and scale, especially if we have some of the challenges that we do as MBEs with access to capital, maybe access to technology, some of those things we always talk about. This is an opportunity for us to address that issue. Go to your next slide, please. I wanted to show a few statistics, which is really important for us. So one, just within the EMSDC, I think, again, Brian, and I think I see Tristina and Aaliyah, they've done an exceptional job. We have over 1,000 MBEs just in our EMSDC council. That's a lot of companies, right? Within that, we have 120 companies that have revenue above 20 million. It's a lot of, again, minority-owned firms that sit within our space. I had a chance to talk to Brian. He said these are estimated numbers, so no one can hold me to it. But within the council, we're generating over 7 billion in revenue. Again, just within the MSDC council. Most of you know me, I'm a big ChatGPT AI person. So I went on ChatGPT and said, hey, if I'm generating 7 billion in revenue in all these services, whether it's service, staffing, construction, technical services, I did all the industries. At the bare minimum, what percentage of that is being procured? 35% says at the bare minimum, $2.4 billion is being procured from these firms. On the low end. I then said, hey, just simple math, right? I wonder if 10% of that is being spent within our council. I don't know. I don't have the data, but I wanted to kind of tell you guys that's what's right in front of us and we don't talk about it. And that's the problem we're trying to solve. That's the opportunity that's there. It's not a lack of opportunity or revenue or spend. We have it amongst ourselves. And this is the data I want to make sure that we start to talk about more and more, because sometimes we feel as though we have to go outside of our circle to go generate opportunities, and that's not always the case. So again, I would love to get feedback on this slide. We're going to get to a Q&A section, but this is facts and data that I want to make sure we can share. And again, even if the number is a little bit less, still a significant number that we can talk about. Next slide, please. So I wanted to, again, spend a few minutes to talk about what are some of the real success that can happen from an MBE to MBE partnership. And again, I want you guys, hopefully you're listing out ideas, and I would love to hear your feedback. One of the biggest struggles that I know most companies have, whether you're a large or a small organization, is a long sales cycle. And one of the things that we have talked about very openly is when you sell to corporate, I've sold to Comcast, I've sold to IBC. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks or 2 months. Those are longer sales cycles, and sometimes it can take a year. They'll tell you, right? We hear from corporate members, it takes a year to get in. Don't expect things to happen overnight. You guys know that most small business, when we were small as well, that's tough. So I think having the opportunity to work amongst ourselves and with each other, that sales cycles decrease. When I have a need, I tend to move pretty quickly. I don't have the luxury to wait. I also don't have the processes to move very quickly. So decreasing the sales cycle is one of those intangible thoughts that we don't talk about often in business, but that's what's going to really impact the growth of most companies. Most of the small business may not even have a salesperson, right? So again, that sales cycle is tough, and that's what really impacts us. That's what impacts access to capital and fund. And I mean, I can tell you guys, I talked to a lot of other partners in this space, and I can tell you, sales is where a lot of us struggle. And selling to a big corporation without bandwidth and funding, and it can be tough. Selling to another mid-sized small business, things move faster. Number two is a creation of channel partners. And for those of you, again, who know me, I talk about channel partnership all the time. And I had a conversation this morning. This is a public conversation, WWT, right? One of the biggest MBEs. If you ask them how they grew, they had channel partnerships. That's how they grew to the size they are. From day one, they had channel partnerships with Dell and Microsoft. They talk openly about it, right? So they've also created channel partnerships with other larger MBEs when they were smaller, because that's what allowed them to scale and go to other states. They work with the NMSDC. So a channel partnership, I always say, is a simple example is if you go into Target, you see Starbucks, that's a channel partnership. Starbucks said, hey, why not partner with Target? Because people are already there, they'll get coffee. Very simple process. If I'm a marketing firm, I partner with an IT company because I'm doing the website, they're doing the website, I'll come to do marketing. We have all these services amongst ourselves and we don't go to market together. Significant opportunity for us. And just so you guys, I know David Grooms, I know he was traveling as well. He had something pop up, but feel free to drop in, David, if I miss anything. Not even miss, if you want to add anything, please, as a larger organization.
Sure, Paul. One example I might suggest, and I think you hit on it, is sometimes our sales function is limited in MBE. So we don't have that many people out there networking and trying to find opportunities. So when you have a partner, whether it's a collaboration or strategic alliance or just a relationship, you can sometimes share those leads, even though it might not apply to you, but you can share it with those partners or people that you're collaborating with. As MBEs, we struggle, and the sales cycle is long. We struggle to try to find those real opportunities and minimize the amount of time chasing things that just aren't going to happen. And one way to address that, at least in our experience, has been through communication and sharing information. So.
Awesome. Thanks. I appreciate it, David. The other one is just mentorship opportunities. I mean, I think there's at least for me, and I think a lot of folks in this call, the reason why we're part of the MBEIC is because we want to give back in some capacity. Like, we're all really busy. Trust me. I know when we're knocking out PowerPoint slides and doing prep calls, it's not for us, it's because we really want to give back. And we know that we're giving back to impact others. I truly feel as you get larger, you have more of a responsibility to give back. That's why we went to the 3s and the 4s. And I'll be candid, we didn't get a lot of responses, half maybe because the reach out, it could be timing. But I think we have to all do a better job because we have a lot of 1s and 2s that are saying, hey, we can't grow, we can't scale. We need help. I think in the position that some of us are in, we should be able to give back and help more. So I'm always going to push that piece as I think bigger responsibilities. The bigger you are, come bigger responsibilities. But there's a significant opportunity to mentor. We all know in business, we all struggle and fail, but you try not to make the same mistakes twice. So I had a lot of mentors that said, hey, Paul, here are the things to look out for. And I'll escape those. I'll just come into some other ones. But at least we're not making the same mistakes over and over again. So the mentorship opportunity is big. The ability to transfer knowledge, especially in a domain sector. So I do a lot of work in utility. Utility is so niche that if there's another vendor in utility, you guys can share experiences, you'll be shocked how faster you grow, just based on the simple institutional knowledge. Same thing in pharmaceutical, same thing in insurance. So I think just being able to do more strategic planning, more knowledge transfer, big opportunity again for MBEs to partner and align. Next slide,
Just
please.
one more comment. One more
Please.
comment, Paul, on the mentorship. You know, there are a tremendous amount of pressure on smaller companies, mid-sized companies to grow. I think as class 3 and 4 companies, we have a responsibility to create formalized mentorship programs. I know we have at U.S. facilities, but we identify companies, whether we think we can do business with them or not necessarily, but we introduce them to other connections in our network and corporation opportunities, and it's been very successful for us. And we do that with the support of the council. Council's been absolutely behind all the activities that we've employed, again, as a class 4, who feel we have a responsibility to our supply chain, diversity in our supply chain.
And I mean, I could probably take it a step further. I mean, David and I think we've known each other for even before I started JPI. He's been one of our mentors, right? So I've sat in the office with him many times. He's told us what to look out for. So that's a really good example of someone that has helped us grow over the years, and they've shared with us their struggles. So very simple example, and this was before we joined the committee together. This was something that he did on his own. So next slide, please. I think access to capital is always a struggle. I mean, I don't know if that struggle ever goes anywhere. Again, I don't know if there's any banks on this call, but I always tell people you're not going to get a loan from a bank. That's not how it works. If you don't have collateral, right, bank won't loan you money. However, there's a lot of other ways to get funding, and that is not always private equity funding, or you'll be shocked at how many people think factoring is bad. I know a lot of companies that do factoring that works, right? A percentage, being able to get the job done, build up credit, build up collateral, it's one thing. You'll be shocked how many companies will pay sometimes in advance in certain industries to get the job done. So there are other ways to get capital. Like, everyone doesn't go to the bank and get a loan. There's a lot of SBA loans that are available that we don't talk about often, right? We got an SBA loan when we got started. We thought it was a lot harder than it really was, right? So a lot of ways that you can actually grow your business that we don't talk about often. Having that relationship with those firms that grew, they can tell you all the things they tried and all the things that didn't work. It can also help you, I mean, back to that sales cycle, the quicker you can get sales, the quicker you solve the capital problem, right? The quicker you can land a deal, you can actually get revenue coming in. That's probably the easiest way to solve that issue. So I say access to capital, there's knowledge around funding opportunities, there's financial collaborations, there's ways, a lot of these big firms sometimes will actually fund you, right? Especially if they need your support to go land a bigger project. All those things are on the table. And I think the more that we can partner, the more we can identify those. Last but not least is resource sharing. The one that sticks out to me the most that I think we struggle with till this day is joint RFPs are a beast. But RFPs are the biggest opportunities normally that present itself. That's why they have to go to bid if it's over X dollars. And if you're trying to write an RFP, you could spend 2 weeks on your own writing an RFP, right? With a partner, right, you end up writing a smaller section of a couple of different RFPs, and that section gets bigger and bigger over time. You create a repository over time. That's just one example of how we've grown over years with resource sharing, right? I've had firms tell us what tools to use, what technologies to call, who their salesperson is at Springer, who does timekeeping. Like, these are all the small things that when you create a partnership with bigger firms that they'll teach you or they'll share with you over time. There's operational efficiencies, right, around better tools, better technologies. We're learning a lot around AI right now because bigger firms are sharing us how they're using it, right? They're telling us this is how we use it in our Copilot. This is how we implement a Copilot into our day-to-day. This is how my finance team uses it. And sometimes we have to go into their system to put data in. So we're learning how that works. So just these small partnerships help out a lot. Again, I'm not sure, David, if you wanted to kind of add anything else there.
No, Paul, I think we're good.
Oh, awesome. Well, guys, again, there's a lot of other ways, but these were just a few simple things that we talked about that could help us. The next slide, I'm going to throw it back to Janine. And I can't tell how many people on the call, but I really want this to be a little bit conversational because the more information we can get from this small group, the more we can actually help to foster. We're going to have an event September the 13th. We're going to have people in person. So a conversation today can help us to have the right information, make sure we can have a successful engagement. So with that said, I'll throw it back to Janine.
Thanks, Paul and David. So we would appreciate if everyone could jump off mute, because again, we want to make this really conversational, but you know, what if you could think about today or even your current or future needs, like what type of needs do you guys have to date that you could say like, hey, this is really important to me, whether it's a service or solution. We would love to hear what are some of your current needs to date. And I don't mind calling people out because we are here to support. So Jim Burris, my good friend Jim, hopefully you can hear me. We'd love to hear about what type of needs your firm has. And if you could make a quick introduction, that'd be
Janine, I was going to ask if it's okay, because it's such a small group. I think it may be a good thing to have folks introduce themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because I think just if we can kind of go through the company you're with, what you guys do, even your initial thoughts, I think that'd be a great start for us, just to kind of make sure we know who's who. So I'll throw it back to you, but feel free to kind of have everyone do an intro, please.
Okay. Jim, do you mind kicking it off for us?
Yeah, no problem, Janine.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Jim Burris, President and CEO of Ashburn Consulting. We are currently under the IMB Partners portfolio, one of their companies, and that's how we got connected to the program. I guess one of the things that we would hope to do would just to have a venue to just share the services that we provide. We provide just professional IT services, particularly in the network and cyber security areas, and just really to seek out a mentor, two, how do we get kind of engaged in the channel partners of some of the larger organizations. I mean, we've through Janine, I mean, obviously we have a good connection here, but I would love to see how we can expand this and be relevant to some of the partners that are already in the program, and see how we can get mentored to just communicate our services more clearly, and then two, just to be a good channel partner. So yeah, that's kind of what I would hope to do, and I would love to get more details on the September meeting and see how we can be active there. But I'll pause there.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate that. And you mentioned cybersecurity. Any specific industry that you're focusing on?
Well, currently, we have a number of federal clients, and most of our business is actually state and local county governments. So, currently supporting a number of the larger county governments in the Washington D.C. area. But when we say cyber, we're talking more just infrastructure security, so securing the perimeter of network environments, and then some of the internal systems as well. So just the key critical systems within the enterprise and networks that we currently support. But yeah, and so predominantly state and local county government, and then federal is where we support today. We do have a small subset of commercial clients, but it's predominantly in the state and local and federal markets.
Okay, thanks, Jim. We appreciate that. Frank, I see that you're off mute. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'll chime in, Janine.
Thank you.
I'm Frank Clement. I'm the Director of Business Development for Genzion. We are a healthcare technology solutions firm. Primarily, we also have a retail division, but primarily the direction is technology solutions. So that can change. That can range from software development projects, implementation projects, all those type of things. And I'm gonna sort of echo some of what Jim said, in that I think that what would benefit us the most would be some kind of mentorship, because I've been involved, our company's been involved with the EMSDC for, I'm going to say, probably close to 10 years. My tenure has been 5 years, and I've been involved for that period of time. And really, I've done, the networking events and as much as possible tried to get involved, but some sort of mentorship which could sort of help us in a direction to garner more opportunities from the entire program would be helpful. And when it comes to clients that we go after, typically within the realm of the EMSDC, we're typically going after the larger organizations like your UPMC and CHOP. But that being said, a lot of our clients are also in the health tech arena. So, there are things that they do better than what we do, and collaboration would definitely be a good outcome for both. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview, and I'll pause there.
It does, and we appreciate that feedback, Frank. I'm going to move to the next person. Anyone else want to introduce themselves, or you think I should just call on folks?
I would just call on the folks, yeah.
All right. Allison, is it Sponik? I see you're next on my list.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, I'm going to let Edward Kang introduce us. I'm here with him from Kang Haggerty. He's the managing partner of the firm.
Very good. Thank you.
So this is Edward Kang, and I work with Allison Sponik at our firm, Kang Haggerty. We are a litigation boutique law firm located in Philadelphia with offices in New Jersey as well. We are plaintiffs' litigation lawyers. We handle at large better company type of litigation on behalf of plaintiffs, such as a antitrust case or federal RICO case or other type of unfair competition of case. We also handle whistleblower matters on behalf of whistleblowers against usually large corporations. And finally, we handle class actions on behalf of the consumers and the like, such as antitrust class actions or matters involving a widespread consumer-related fraud type of class action. As a plaintiff's firm, we do very little work with EMSDC, although we've been involved with the EMSDC for some time. But in terms of doing work with other people, we are in a unique situation being in that plaintiff's litigation boutique firm. But we're here because we enjoy being part of a EMSDC family.
Well, we appreciate the partnership and you guys joining today. Is there any type of feedback that you have or any type of support that we can provide for the firm?
We would like to have a more in-person networking opportunities. There were more of those opportunities before the pandemic. And of course, the pandemic changed a lot of those things. So far, we have been just participating by going to this type of a webinar or just listening to other different kind of programs. But what we would like is have the opportunities to network with other people, especially through in-person meetings here in the Philadelphia areas.
Very good. Well, we look forward to seeing you September 13th in person and finding opportunities to refer your business as well. All right, very good. Next, I have Diana Tucker-Harrison. Diana, are you able to speak?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having this session. I'm excited to be listening in and want to really get engaged. So looking forward to September 13th. Again, my name's Diana. I'm the founder and CEO of Climate Capital Strategies. We're a climate consulting firm supporting small and medium-sized enterprises with measuring, managing, and reducing their greenhouse gas emissions, but also reporting on sustainability practices, whether that's through SBTI, EcoVadis, CDP. And we're focused on really supporting those businesses who are being asked by their large clients, like pharmaceutical companies or chemical companies, for this information as they try to gain more information on their Scope 3 emissions. And I would say in terms of needs, again, this is a startup, so we're really looking for mentorship and partnerships for sure, in terms of working with larger clients. If we could partner, that would be fantastic.
That's excellent. Thank you, Diana. And I know Paul does a lot of work within the energy space, so I believe that there could be some conversations there as well. So we appreciate it, and thank you so much for attending our call today. I'm going to hop to Nick Parmar. Are you able to come off mute, Nick? He's on twice, but we'll give him another second. All right. Am I missing anyone? Leah, Paul, to either of you, if I'm missing anyone from an intro perspective?
No, that's it. I think we're good, Jenny.
Okay, very good. Well, we appreciate you guys, one, attending this call, and two, sharing what some of your current needs are. I think the more that we get this out to the public and to other MBEs, class 3 and 4s, we'll have, you know, an even stronger event than what we're projecting. So, Paul, I'll kick it over to you.
No, I think the one thing that comes to mind, it sounds like, if I'm not mistaken, that most of the folks on the call, so James, Nick, Diane, is it fair to say, I think we're more class 1s and 2s, right? Which means we're below the 20 million threshold. I just want to make sure we're having the right conversation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Diane, you're a startup. Allison and Kang,
Yeah.
is that correct? Okay. Frank, how about you guys? Same thing, class 1 or 2?
We are above 20 million in revenue.
Okay.
And I didn't know what the categorizations were here. So I'd say we're somewhere in the area of 35 to 40 million in revenue.
All right, so you guys are a large entity. Cool. And then Diane is a startup. Nick, I know we weren't able to get him to speak. So I do want to stay here for a while because there's as the MBEIC and the rest of the team, feel free to jump in. Our goal is to identify ways to create the partnerships. So again, based on what I stated so far around creating the partnerships, mentorships, channel partnerships, like what feedback do you guys have for us outside of just the mentorship? Where else do you guys see an opportunity to either provide your services and align with the 3s and 4s, or for that matter, what services do you normally look for to help you grow and scale? So again, more open conversation. Frank, from your lens, I'll start with you. Are there services that you guys are constantly purchasing as a $35 million company? What things do you guys look for to grow and scale your business?
That's a good question. And I would say that, see, part of our business is staffing, because all the projects that we work on require technical staff.
Yep.
We do that ourselves, but in my opinion, I think that, you know, there might be an avenue where somebody whose concentration is on that might help us in that area. It's something I'd have to sell upstairs, but that's my point of view of an area where I think that we could use some help. Yeah, that's really the only area I can think of that would benefit us.
Awesome. And then maybe the same thing for Allison and Kang. I mean, even though, again, I know you guys are on the legal side, are there services that you do purchase and you do buy to support the business? And does anything come to mind there?
Not sure. Allison, do you have any insight on this?
We use software companies, but that's sort of the biggest external area we're getting suppliers from.
Okay. Well, like custom software to kind of support your business, right? Or just software just as the infrastructure for the company, correct?
Yeah, and then we'll sort of use third parties to integrate that to work best for our company.
And Allison, just for my question, are there ever, and how often, if something does come up, do you guys have a channel to go to the MSDC to see if there's a vendor there that can support you guys? Is that a normal practice, or you're saying you don't have enough needs, whereas though you don't procure that much?
It's something I've considered in the past when I've gone on. I know there's a newer portal that I haven't spent as much time in, but you know, we do have a policy in place, right, to try to look for, you know, minority-owned businesses that we can work with and support, but unfortunately it isn't as frequent of a need as, you know, it probably is for other companies in different practice areas.
Okay. And then Diane, the same thing for you. Again, I know you're, like you mentioned, you're a startup. So where have you tried the channel partnership model? Have you tried to reach out to any of the other firms in the council to create a partnership?
I have not, but that will definitely be my next step to do that. And I would say partnerships are important. I would also say I would be looking for opportunities for partnering with others for accounting services, marketing services. I think those two things are a priority.
I want to stay with Diana for a while because I don't know if, does anyone else know what Diana does? Anyone else does anything with sustainability or climate on this call? Like James, Frank, Allison? No?
Me.
Except for Dennis, right? Dennis. So, and Dennis, feel free to jump in, but I think what Diana to me screams like the ideal channel partner. Dennis, why do you think that is from your lens?
Yeah, I mean, if hearing you correctly, because it just got back on, doing sustainability consulting.
Yeah.
So I know with several projects that we're actually working on right now that have requirements in that area built around some renewable energy projects, but a different lens for the sustainability portion of that. So I'd love to talk to you offline about that.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And Diane, I mean, I can tell you again what most companies may not be aware of, and you know this better than most, is that they're going to have to start to have some level of sustainability or ESG compliance reporting.
Correct.
A lot of the projects you're going after, so that's going to be inside your RFP, or that's going to be what a lot of our corporate members are asking for. So these are the relationships where everyone should know that you do ESG compliance reporting, right? Because that's a requirement for a lot of the clients that we're working with. And that's one of the reasons why they may not come to an MBE, because they don't think that we have that expertise to help them there.
Yeah.
Right. So very small example, but there's 100 just like this, where there's someone that's a really good SME in something and they're getting going, but what they're really good at is what the market's asking for. So I think that's the type of relationships that we would like to continue for sure. Cool. So again, I think that this call, just to be honest, I think we were hoping to have more 3s and 4s to tell us what they're looking for, but I think what we ended up with was more along the lines of some of the 1s to 2s. I know we have 1, 3, telling us what they need within the council. Is there anything else you guys want to provide feedback on? Again, I mean, Frank, feel free to jump in too. Like if we were to find ways to partner more, how can we make that happen? Because right now it's happening. Like I keep saying, the council's doing a great job, but if we want to get it to the next level, what ideas would you guys recommend for us?
I would say that, and I'm not sure what level of effort goes into promoting active partnership amongst some of the enterprise level members of the NMSDC or the EMSDC. Because I say that because in a lot of cases, it seems like they sort of go through the motions of supplier diversity as opposed to really investing time and energy in it. You know, a lot of times I'll go to matchmaking events and talk to an organization, and they'll say, okay, sign up in our portal and we'll get back to you. And that portal ends up being a black hole. So as an advocacy group, I would like to know more about the activities that go on to try, and I'm saying try because there's only so much you can do, to try and get more active participation from those enterprise level members.
Okay. So I can tell you here again, I mean, that's the full-time job for the MSCC Council, Frank, where I mean, those guys are, I mean, I know Leah's not on the call, I think Tracina is, but they're constantly engaging with the corporate members. They're identifying opportunities. There's some opportunities that show up in the portal. So I think those efforts aren't going to go anywhere. I think the reason why we wanted to do this call was, in addition to those efforts, we wanted to create another potential pipeline for the MBEs to grow and scale as well. And the one thing that I mentioned earlier with the sales cycle is there are some MBEs that already maybe cracked that relationship, but they're not even selling a healthcare IT. They're doing something else, right? How do you identify who's already working with IBC or AmeriHealth or UPMC that has a really good relationship, but you guys aren't competing, right? We're trying to create maybe other thought processes that can get us past that supplier diversity portal. It's other ways that we can think about driving business.
Yeah, I agree with you, Paul. And I think that we're open to all avenues. So, you know, I at one point put a profile of our company in the marketplace on the EMSDC website, and I haven't been there to visit that as often as I should. But I think it would probably create a good behavior if that area were sort of divided by different avenues of areas of expertise. You know, like for instance, Kang Haggerty, they're on the legal side, plaintiff representatives. So if there's a category for legal, then them and whoever else would fall into that category. So that as a member, if I develop the regular habit of, hey, I need something, let me go in here and see who falls into the category of what I need. Now, like I said, I haven't been into that section of the website in a while, but I think if it were categorized like that, that would probably be helpful.
No, I think that's a great point. So what I'm hearing you say, Frank, is there's an opportunity. We haven't done it in the council in a couple of years, but to have more potentially industry focused sectors, right? Whereas though, like, I mean, as the Kang mentioned, there are a law firm, but I think there are other law firms that may, I'm sure, I mean, Kang and Alice, you guys know this better than I do, but if someone does another type of law, right, and not what you guys do, it will be ideal to know who those folks are to partner with them, right? Because you guys could then share leads and go after partnerships together. So I'll definitely jot that down as an opportunity for conversation here in the next month or so when we meet up, is how can we have more industry specific conversation, because the healthcare conversation with you, Frank, is different from the legal conversation, which is different from the climate conversation that Diana has. And definitely an opportunity to kind of segment those out to be more niche. So thank you for that feedback.
This is Edward Kang. I've been to several meetings and other events by EMSDC, and I'm not sure whether I've seen any person who was also from a law firm. I think that based on all the meetings that I've been to and all the events that I've been to, we were the only law firm And based on my experience, it looked more like much of the members from, or the guests from EMSDC events were on the supplier side, or if they're in the service side, they were in the more of a either construction or cybersecurity or some type of services that are a little bit different from the legal side. So I think the idea of having some kind of a category is a good idea. I think that would certainly be easier for people to access. It would make it easier. I'd like to know whether there are other law firms out there who are members of EMSDC, or even the guests who appear on these events or webinars.
I can tell you, I mean, our law firm sits in the MSDC that we work with, right? So there's actually a lot more than you guys think. And that's why, as you're talking, I'm realizing that Mike, our lawyer, should absolutely know who you guys are. Mike's been doing law in Philadelphia for almost 25 years.
We do some legal work for EMSCC. But I'm surprised that there are some of the other law firm members.
Yeah, there's a few other law firms that are part of the council. So again, as you're talking, I think maybe that's an opportunity, is to really ensure that you know what your network and who those other individuals are. So you guys, again, can sit and have the law conversations that you have when you get together. So I'll make a note to make that introduction, Kang, if you don't mind. Mike and I are pretty good friends. I mean, I've known him for years. So I think that it's always a good thing to kind of know someone else that's in your space that also sits in the council as well.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
Cool. I know, James, I know we kind of got away. Any thoughts from your lens? Again, just any ideas on how we can create more of the strategic partnership?
Nothing that hasn't been already said. Again, just looking for, how to communicate better our services, how to get into the marketplace, how to, we did meet with some of the suppliers, and I'll just give you one example, Deloitte, and it just seems to, it's just hard to just, kind of distinguish our services from probably 100 of other suppliers that are probably supplying the same type of services. So really looking for, mentorship opportunities, and how do we get more actively engaged in, in the system, where we can hopefully get more at bats with either being a channel partner or, someone that's being mentored. So that's all.
Awesome. Again, guys, I really appreciate the time. I'm going to maybe throw it back to the team, Janine, Leah, Dave. I mean, if you guys have any thoughts or questions you guys wanted to go over before we go to the next slide.
No,
And by the way, Paul, just one note. Our firm name is Kang Haggerty, and my name is Edward Kang.
Okay. Thank you for that, because I've been saying Kang the whole time. So I appreciate it.
I understood.
They go by the last names, Edward. So that's also thanks. And I appreciate the feedback, Edward, so far that you provided. Thank you. Cool. The next slide is just next steps. So I'm going to throw it over to Leah to kind of give you guys an idea of what we have coming up and where we'll need your support.
Thanks, Paul. All right, everyone. So our next steps, we would love it if you could save the date and join us for EMSDC's 2024 MBE Summit, Changing the Narrative Together, on Friday, September 13th, which will be held in Philadelphia. Additional details about the event will follow soon. This is going to be a fantastic event where it will be an MBE to MBE event. It's going to be an opportunity for MBEs to have procurement opportunities to connect with each other and hopefully do some business with each other, as well as to develop and track topics that can impact our community. The second thing that we need you to do is we need you to complete our survey if you haven't done it already. We made it nice and easy for you. If you are on a desktop, you can just grab your phone and scan that QR code, and you can very easily gain access to the survey. Any information that you share on that survey will definitely help us to better serve your needs. And also, if you follow EMSDC on LinkedIn, we do provide updates of any upcoming events that are going to be happening within the council. And there are some really fantastic events coming up in the fall, starting off with that MBE Summit, Changing the Narrative Together, on Friday, September 13th. So we hope to see you there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Elaine. I want to thank you guys all again for attending the conference, attending the webinar. This is a new initiative for us, so I think that your feedback and insight will be helpful. If you guys see something or hear an idea, I mean, feel free to share it with us, but you will get an email again. Hopefully we can all have a chance to meet. Thank you guys all. Again, have a great afternoon. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.